So I'm some guy just in his bed late at night, um, telling you you should vote for Bernie Sanders for president. Um, just a little bit of my background if you haven't watched any of my videos, which you probably haven't, most likely. Um, I'd consider myself a socialist, a libertarian socialist, a liberal, just somebody who's very liberal. Um, and as a liberal, I believe Bernie Sanders is literally the greatest person we could ever put into office. And I think him just being in this mix of candidates is an exciting prospect. Um, Probably similar to the way a lot of Ron Paul people felt on the Republican side. But I hope this is bigger, and it could be. It could be. We'll have to see how much of it is true, how much of it is anti-Clinton vote. But anyway, I support Bernie Sanders because he actually supports universal health care. Universal health care being single-payer health care like most of the industrialized world has. I support Bernie Sanders because he thinks the Scandinavian, gosh, that word is hard to say sometimes. The Scandinavian model of government is the best model. And I agree. I think you look at the Scandinavian countries, they're happier. Their per capita income is pretty good. They get a lot of help from their government. They get a lot of protections from their government. And they're not hated by the world like the United States is. I support Bernie Sanders because he wants to cut military spending, which honestly should have happened a long time ago. Our world military spending is insane. We spend like 50% of the world's military spending. And some of the people who are pretty close to us, actually, no one's really close to us, but a lot of our allies spend a lot too. Like they rank in the top 5. So honestly, there's really no excuse for the amount of military spending we're currently on. He was in the 1963, I want to say 63, March on Washington. He organized for civil rights. He wants public financing of all campaigns. He wasn't even a Democrat. He became a Democrat to compete in the primary, which I actually respect. A lot of people will be like, oh, he isn't a true Democrat. I'm not a true Democrat. Maybe that's why I like him. He's somebody who doesn't care about labels. He cares about ideas. He wants to debate Republicans in the primaries. I think that's a great idea. Why not? Why is that a bad idea? And why hasn't it been thought of before? Why don't we get a real conversation between the two parties over this next 2 years on what we believe in? Should we have a minimum wage of $15 an hour? And this is the part where this is why I will not support Clinton. Clinton supports 10-10, which is good, but 15 is better. And it's not crazy. It's crazy because we've been conditioned to think it's crazy. The industrialized world doesn't think this is crazy, just America. Free college education. This has been done in some European countries. It sounds crazy in America, but why not? Why not? I doubt Hillary Clinton would be for that. Bernie Sanders is not nearly as militaristic as Hillary Clinton. Hillary wanted a war in Libya, which she got. War in Syria, which luckily that failed, but we're in another war in Syria, which she supports. She's for drone strikes. She's for the NSA overreach. She's terrible on this. She voted for the Iraq War. And if we're bringing Bill Clinton into it, do you know how many foreign military adventures we went on under his administration? It was just one thing after another. One thing after another. Speaking of Bill Clinton, who bears the most responsibility for the 2008 economic collapse? If you said George Bush, you might be wrong. It was actually Bill Clinton. 1999, the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act passes. Separates banking institutions, the ones that go out and invest money, and the ones that hold the money for your average citizen, so they can gamble with your money, essentially. This was illegal. This was illegal under the Glass-Steagall Act of 1937. Bill Clinton signed it into law. And later, that had a part in bringing down the economy in 2008. Hillary could have spoken against it. She didn't. She voted for the Patriot Act. Bernie Sanders would vote against the Patriot Act. Hillary Clinton is trying to be a liberal. And I think that's great. I think that's great that she knows she has to be a liberal. But it reminds me of somebody else. It reminds me of this guy from Illinois who claimed to be a true liberal, but when he got into office, he sold us out at every chance he got, because most of his money came from millionaires and billionaires, came from Wall Street. And guess who those same people back now? They all back Hillary Clinton. I don't care what happens. Bernie Sanders needs a national platform. He needs a national platform. He needs to do well in Iowa, which I think he can do. He needs to use media effectively. He needs to draw big crowds. I think he's doing those things well. And he needs to do well in Iowa and New Hampshire. And I think he's capable of doing that. But it's going to take people going and taking a massive risk. I might be out of politics. I thought I was out of politics. My experiences with the political campaign weren't the greatest. But I believe so strongly in Bernie Sanders that I might reconsider everything, honestly. I've had the chance to meet the guy firsthand, and he is legitimate. I mean, he is what he says he is. He doesn't... It's so hard to explain. He isn't like a politician. It's so weird. He'll get very animated if you say something that angers him, or if he talks about something that is very important to him. He doesn't do the politically correct thing. he just fights. He fights things that he perceives as being totally wrong, and he's not afraid to do it. So this was a long, rambling video, but that's basically why I support Bernie Sanders.